And then tier 1 is a championship programs. I put quotations there. I'm not trying to be a jerk. It just is what it is here with Texas A&M. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football back at it again. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things college football, hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also, hit the like button too, and follow me on Twitter/X. That fam is growing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, everybody. Again, fantastic week of college football right before conference championship weekend. So great games all around. The Ohio State-Michigan game was fantastic, and everything. I mean, again, there were so many good games this last weekend. Again, I've said this for about the gazillionth week in a row. College football this season has been awesome. Now, as awesome as college football season has been so far, there is one day that coaches around the country and a lot of families with those coaches dread looking forward to. It is Black Monday, typically the first Monday. And I know some of these firings happened the other day, but they're typically not finalized until Monday. Black Monday in college football hit, and it hit several jobs out there. The first one here, confirmed by Ross Dellinger, was Dana Holgorsen being fired by the Houston Cougars. He went 31-28 in his 5 seasons with them. He is one of those firings that happened, in addition to several other smaller programs. So we already heard about Texas A&M a couple weeks ago with that giant buyout. We see Houston. We saw Boise State, my boys, a couple weeks ago. We also see New Mexico separated from head coach Jenny Gonzalez after 4 seasons as the head coach. Now, when checking out Black Monday and seeing what jobs are available, the good thing about this is that now whatever program you are, you're like, hey, it can only go up from here or whatever that situation is. So what I wanted to do is take a look at all of the available jobs as of right now. Again, this list could be updated by the second this video comes out. I understand that. But I want to make sure that so far I see 11 jobs available. I want to go through each of those 11 here to discuss the different tiers in terms of the quality of head coaching jobs available. Let's get into that list right now. All right, so from Brett McMurphy just yesterday, and now again, he tweets here that the openings available in 2024. He says the list is still growing and it will continue to grow, but for right now, we're going to go over these 11. Boise State, my alma mater, Houston, Indiana, Mississippi State, New Mexico, Oregon State, San Diego State, Syracuse, Texas A&M, UL Monroe, and UTEP. So we're going to go through that list right now, and we're going to go through the criteria in terms of what we're going to judge it off of. In addition to, again, we're not going to go through each individual school. What I am going to do is organize them into different tiers here. It will be self-explanatory. Let's go on that list of those tiers. All right, so the head coach job tiers, the criteria we're looking for is we're looking for a certain amount of resources out there. Resources could be anything from the ability to have, a great weight room, to have a really good stadium, to have the ability to go on recruiting searches, whatever it is. You typically can tell that is connected to how much support they have. Support is also down there as well. Some programs have a lot of support for their head coach. Some have a lot of support in terms of resources. Those can be a little bit different. Some could be, we're going to give you all of the money you can have. We need to see results on the field. The other one could be, we don't really have that much resources, but we're going to give you the support. You can have time to kind of figure this out. That's how those first two there, resources and support. The next one is competition. And again, as much as we like to say, oh yeah, they'd love to stay at that smaller school and win 10 games every single year. Yeah, that would be cool, but competition is what competition is, and people want to win the biggest championships and the biggest stages and go from there. So as much as you might love to win the Sun Belt Championship everywhere, if you win the SEC Championship game once in 10 years, that probably is better than 7 consecutive Sun Belt Championships. I apologize, Sun Belt. I love you guys. I love you guys. Actually, the most bowl eligible teams. I know the whole situation with James Madison. We're not going to get into that. I appreciate you guys, Sun Belt. Also, championship aspirations. That is something to be weighted there. And the same thing with expectations, in the fact that you're like, okay, so what am I stepping into? What are these expected of me? Do we have the capability of winning? Let's go through all of those schools right now. So the first one here is Tier 4, and it basically just operates as football is an activity. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It is what it is with these schools. So we have 3 schools from those 11 that were on that previous tweet. We have New Mexico State, we have New Mexico, UTEP, and UL Monroe. So New Mexico and UTEP, as much as if you guys know where UTEP is, El Paso is 11 hours from Houston. It's like 10 hours from Dallas. It is in the middle of nowhere in terms of it's basically New Mexico City, and then New Mexico is just north of that. So unfortunately for them, they have no real recruiting territory. Albuquerque has some solid players, but they don't necessarily have the ability to have a full 85-man FBS roster. You have to go outside their state a lot of times for that. They have no real history of success at either school, New Mexico and UTEP. There were some nice years for Rocky Long. Bob Davie did a decent job at New Mexico for a while there, but for the most part, New Mexico, UTEP, not necessarily jobs that have a lot of expectations in terms of their history of success, but that gives them the ability that they are secure jobs. If you go there, you're going to get 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons to kind of figure out what you have and what you're capable of doing. So that way you're not going to say, oh, yeah, well, I went there for 2 years and they got rid of me. That's not going to happen at these schools unless you're egregious. But typically, it'll give you the ability to bring in your guys, develop your guys, establish the program you want, and go from there. Same thing here with UL Monroe. UL Monroe is a little bit different there because they are in a recruiting hotbed. I mean, out there, they can recruit from, Memphis and Jackson, Mississippi and Houston and New Orleans. They're really close to all those places, but the problem is they basically just get the leftover recruits from that recruiting hotbed. They've also only been to one bowl game in school history. It is not a place with a lot of expectations there, but again, same situation there. It is a very secure job. So for New Mexico, UTEP, and UL Monroe, these are typically places where a person who gets their first head coaching job will go there. They'll be like, okay, so you're really good offensive coordinator, or you're a quarterbacks coach at a big-time school, or you're defensive coordinator at a medium-sized school, and you want your first opportunity to be a head coach. New Mexico, UTEP, UL Monroe, this is typically who gets hired at those places. All right, Tier 3 is mid-major programs with success. So I took 4 in here, and one of them I have, there almost should be their own tier in there themselves, but I'm going to include them in this tier here. So we have Boise State, Houston, San Diego State, and Oregon State. So for Boise State and San Diego State, although San Diego State isn't having the type of season they wanted this year, they're typically a top-end Mountain West school in terms of a program. Boise State is as well. And Houston this year is a bottom-end Big 12 school. So I'm kind of putting them in the same tier there. Again, Houston is still a P5 school, P4 school at this point. And then Oregon State, they're kind of in their own spot. We'll get into them in a second here. So for Boise State, it's got great program success and support. You are not going to be in a situation where you're like, oh yeah, I just don't really feel like the school is supporting me as well as they can. That was part of the reason why Brian Harsin left, because he felt like the school wasn't supporting him to the degree they wanted him to go. Brian Harsin was talking, he wanted the team to go independent and then go to the Big West or something like that for all of the sports. So he didn't get that much support as he wanted, but you typically do have pretty good support from the community. You don't have any close recruiting hotbeds. You do have to establish those in big regional markets outside the state. You have to go find your players. I mean, Idaho is going to produce 2, maybe 3, 4 FBS quality players every year. So you have to go out and find those guys. Now you can do that. They've done a pretty good job recruiting Texas and California, but going forward, you're probably going to have to, you definitely have to go outside the state to recruit for sure. And then, like I said, you have solid resources, so you have a good amount of support, not as much as other programs that are, especially in the higher ends of college football, but expectations are high. So much so that, think about, this is so crazy with Boise State. Think about this. Of all those jobs that are available, how many of them can say this? That's right. Boise State is currently in the Mountain West Championship game. So think about this. This right here is a down year for Boise State. 7-5. 5 losses is unheard of. This is a down year for Boise State. And they are a 3-point favorite currently to win the Mountain West Championship game. That's how much the expectations are, but the support and the program, it's just a cool, unique place to be. I'm telling you right here, Boise State's not a bad option for any coach out there. Continuing on with Houston and San Diego State, whereas with Boise State, it's kind of isolated out there. Houston and San Diego State, they don't have to worry about anything in terms of finding players because they are both in recruiting hotbeds. Because San Diego State's in San Diego, which has some great recruits out there. Richie Bush came from San Diego, in addition to access to the LA market. So you're not going to be able to be in a situation where you can't find players at San Diego State, and Houston is too. Houston literally, I remember a couple years ago, they had like 85 or 90% of their players were within 30 miles of the center metro of Houston. You are going to be fine for recruiting out there. You also have great investment from the leadership. San Diego State just updated their stadium. Houston, updated stadium. They've got a good investment from their president. Their president is an absolute rock star. That's a big reason why they were brought in to the Big 12, part of those first 4 in, or the last 4 in with UCF, Houston, BYU, and Cincinnati. And then Oregon State, this one is a weird one because they just lost Jonathan Smith to Michigan State. They can't pay that much money. The conference is in total flux. We have no idea what's going to happen. There's rumors they're going to be a Mountain West team. There's rumors they're going to do a scheduling alliance. There's rumors that they're going to try and buy out some teams or after the 2024 season operate as a 2-team conference for 2 years. Nobody has any idea what to expect with this team right now, so it's in constant flux. But remember, this team at one point was the number 11 team in December in the country. This is a team that consistently outperforms expectations. They are a great football program, about an hour south of Portland in the Northwest region. It got multiple billionaire, donors, so it's not a bad spot. And again, they have lots of Pac-12/2 resources to work with. That those resources that they have, something like $500 million of assets, probably split with Washington State. Some of that will still go to the members that have left, but you're going to have like SEC levels, Big Ten levels of investment from that amount of money for the next couple of years. We'll see what they do with it. Like I said, though, it's just a program that's kind of in flux. So again, this program right here, a lot of times at Boise State, Houston, San Diego State, Oregon State, you're typically going to get big-time offensive coordinator or defensive coordinators from big-time schools. Your defensive coordinators of Texas, offensive coordinator at Georgia, Florida, big-time schools you'll typically be able to go there and take a good candidate from them to be your head coach. That's what you see with these programs right there. All right, Tier 2 programs, these are mid programs in big conferences, mid and bottom programs. So again, I have Indiana, Mississippi State, and Syracuse here. So for these schools, they've got a couple things about them. Like there's the good and the bad. The thing about the Tier 2 and the reason why it's ahead of the Tier 3, the Tier 3 arguably is probably easier to win and it's probably got a better quality of life. But Tier 2, again, it's one of those things where if Tier 1 or Tier 3 can offer you $2 million a year, Tier 2 can offer you $6 million. And if I had an opportunity to triple your salary, there's a lot of things and a lot of places you would go. Same thing with me. So Indiana, Mississippi State, and Syracuse. Indiana, though, thinking about them, they have never won 10-plus games in 125 seasons. That's absolutely bananas. They've never won 10-plus games in 125 seasons. It's in a solid recruiting area. Indianapolis is close. Chicago, Ohio, Kentucky. You've also got, Michigan up there. You're not in a solid area. You can find some good players around there. The program will give you time. You see that with what they have, the fact that you're going to get 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. And again, if you can keep on going from there, you can actually be able to establish something well. But you do have a Big Ten schedule, so it's going to be pretty tough there. Mississippi State is in a recruiting hotbed, absolute hotbed out there in the South. There's players galore all over the place. They have 3 10-plus win seasons in 119 years, but you do have to play an SEC schedule in addition to the fact that Oklahoma and Texas are coming into the league. Now they are an SEC West team, so they're going to merge with the SEC East, so you're going to get a couple more South Carolinas, a couple more Vanderbilts, so you should be okay in that respect. And then Syracuse, they've actually had a lot more football success than you would think, especially back in the Big East days. They are in a solid recruiting area. New Jersey is not too far away. Pennsylvania is right there. It's solid. Again, same thing with Indiana. It's solid. We'll see what they can do there. But the program will also give you some time. So think about that too, is Indiana and Syracuse, a program will give you some time. Mississippi State will give you a little bit of time. They're not as impatient as this next team. But again, these are mid programs in big conferences. And then Tier 1 is a championship programs. I put quotations there. I'm not trying to be a jerk. It just is what it is here with Texas A&M. So Texas A&M, you have as many resources as you need. You see a recruit who's in Tonga, send somebody out there. You see a recruit it's in Africa, send somebody out there. It doesn't matter. They have all of the money and resources in the world to find that. You're also in a recruiting hotbed. Texas A&M is not too far outside of Houston. You have a really easy job going to players in Houston and basically saying, hey, you want to stay close to home? Absolutely. Come over here to Texas A&M. You do have championship expectations. We saw the fact that that's what it is in an SEC schedule. So despite all of that, and despite the fact that they're currently paying a $76 million buyout to Jimbo Fisher, they've already found their guy in terms of their next head coach. It's Mike Elko from Duke. So here we are. And again, this was yesterday here. Texas A&M intends to hire Duke head coach Mike Elko as the next head coach per Brett Zwerneman. And again, so he went over there. Duke, actually, remember, Duke, surprised Clemson out there. Duke has an issue with recruiting. It's hard to get players into there to go, but he's a solid coach. Spread offense, does look like a lot of things that he does. He's the new head coach out there at Texas A&M. So thinking about those tiers, again, we talk about the tiers there. We got your UL Monroes, and then your Boise States, and then your Syracuses, and then your Texas A&Ms. All those jobs are available. Well, actually, Texas A&M is not available anymore because Mike Elko comes over from Duke. What is he going to do? Again, he's going to have all the resources in the world. Is he going to have enough time to establish what he has? Because you already know the quarterback has already transferred, and we're going to see what happens with the recruiting. But we do know he's coming over. It's a really easy place to recruit. It's a tough place to win, but if you can win, you'll be legendary, and you're going to have all the money in the world. How's Mike Elko going to do at Texas A&M? You guys let me know. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all that stuff. I really appreciate it. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys later. I am out.